Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Round two for today. In fact, this round two is going to be a little bit heated. It's going to be a little bit wild. It calls for taking off the tie, unbuckling the top, and getting a little bit invested in what it is that we're up to. We're going to talk about the integrity of first responders. First responders, and I don't have a lot of time for this, so I'm not going to get into a lot of detail. I want you to know, first off, that to be a first responder, since 9/11, we have actually done a great job as a nation of acknowledging first responders and continuing to acknowledge them. And it's been a process and a progress over the past few years since 9/11. And I appreciate knowing that there are people that are willing to risk their life in fires to save other people, or maybe even to save me, and police officers and EMTs and all of those people that put themselves at risk. And I'm sure I'm missing a ton of them. The question is, though, how many of you realize that they're human? Yes, they've gone through they've gone through training, and they've chosen their careers. And currently we're dealing with a big conversation in the world today about our police officers, and that are they getting the appropriate training? What more inclusive and inclusion training, diversity training, training to how to suppress an argument, how to take down people without deadly force, all of these different things. There's so many. I don't have all the answers. I just know that there's training that's available. And a lot of times the funding that police departments have is not enough to put people through continuous training. Well, that's why for me personally, taking away money from the police department isn't the answer. I see it. Let's ramp up the training. Let's really do much more training in quote unquote live situations where the training is with dummy bullets, where people are wearing protective gear and they go at each other and they use each other, and they are practicing like that quarterly, not annually, but quarterly. Yes, is that going to take time? I understand all of that. I think, yes, like many people have been saying, appropriate training is missing, and the next level of that training. Now, also, out of the first responders, they make mistakes. They're human. They do make mistakes, and they're going to make mistakes. How do we know this? Just like pilots. Think about a pilot. He's got now some of the planes have 500-600 passengers on them. If they make mistakes, that plane goes down. All the people die. And does that happen? That happens all the time, all over the world. And we hear about some of it. Drivers, semi-drivers, not paying attention, going through lights, falling asleep at the wheel. I've been guilty of that. I'll admit it. The other part, though, when you're thinking about it, is how many of you text while you're driving or make calls, take your attention off the road, mess around with stuff? I'm guilty. I know that. The minute you do that, you put the people around you at risk. You're in a 1-ton lethal machine, out of control for just brief seconds, can kill, maim. So there's a lot of integrity to being a first responder. Trying to get us to a place as fast as possible, going through lights. The lights change. Yes, we've got this fancy technology, but sometimes people aren't paying attention. They see green light, they keep going, they don't look up. Boom, they're hitting a first responder vehicle. This is a really tough time. And I think we need love and support and creation, not hate and put down. We need love and support and creation of new ideas to take our first responders to the next level, our police force to the next level, the sheriffs, the state troopers. Remember the military. Today, the military people are looked at, they're heroed. They are welcomed home to a warm home. There's still problems with the military. There's still problems with people with fighting overseas and being at war in the Middle East. But remember the Vietnam vets. They were shunned and hated. They were really discriminated against when they got home. And they were following orders, fighting for our freedom or the potential breakdown of our freedom. And yet they were shunned. People threw stuff at them. People wouldn't hire them. People looked at them like they were different and horrible. Well, I invite you, just like people are looking at police officers today, I invite you to do a check. Look at yourself in the mirror. How many times have you made a mistake? How many times have you used the wrong language? How many times have you upset somebody? How many times have you done dangerous things in your car? How many times have you done dangerous things just not paying attention and walking across the street and somebody having to slam on their brakes or being on a pedal bike? All of these different things. First responders have a tough job. And I know there's lots of people on here that are listening to this. Well, they chose it. Yeah, they did. And they chose it to support us, to put their life at risk for our life. And sometimes, as you've seen, things go south. They get overzealous. They've been at it too long. They've seen too much horror. And now they're not being discerning. They're not being thoughtful. You know, they're firing 4 bullets instead of 1. And 1 may wound and put that person down. Instead, 4 kill. So there's many things to be looking at and learning and training. And if it's, you know, somebody's burned out, it's time for them to come off the force. Maybe that's not the job for them anymore. Maybe there's something they can go do. They can go be a public, you know, go to the schools and talk about it and talk about their stress and their strain. There's other things. And, oh, to finish, and I went on a little fact-finding mission because so many times I have read on social media, oh, the police, the only reason the police were around was to catch slaves and be part of a slave patrol. Well, you know what? For those people that are shouting that and saying that and putting them down and being hateful and spiteful and mad and frustrated and saying things out of control and doing all of that, stop it. Look at your history. I did fact finding, and below this video, I will actually include a couple of the articles that I found. But one, I wanted to share this one and take a minute or two to actually read this, because this was, you know, what is the difference between police, sheriff, ranger, like the Texas Rangers, and Marshals? You know, because there's more than just a police officer, like a Minneapolis, St. Paul, Brooklyn Park, Minnetonka, Edina policemen. There are many different lawmen. And the police have been around and lawmen have been around for centuries. The Texas Rangers, the lawmen out in the Wild West. But I'm just going to read this. This was Tim Dees, who's a retired cop and a criminal justice professor. Police are usually general purpose law enforcement officers. They are most often employed by a city government, but may be employed by a county, a state, a college, a hospital, a transit district, or other quasi-governmental organization with the power to create a law enforcement branch. The usually part has to do mainly with federal police forces. If you pay close attention when you're in Washington, D.C. and its environs, you'll notice that almost every federal government agency has its own police. There's the Bureau of Printing and Engraving Police, the FBI Police, the Smithsonian Institution Police, the U.S. Capitol Police, the U.S. Supreme Court Police, and so on. They are armed. They have police-type uniforms. They often have marked patrol cars with emergency lights and sirens, and they can make arrests and serve warrants. However, their function is more like a security force protecting the people and facilities under the umbrella of their employer. Serious crimes committed on or in their facilities will usually be handled by an inspector general's office that also has police powers and special agents like the FBI does, or the FBI. The cars are mostly driven around the perimeter streets and possibly between satellite facilities. The sheriff is an elected official, the chief executive of a sheriff's department. Most sheriffs operate under the county government, with a few city sheriffs, mostly in Virginia, where cities are legally not a part of the county that surrounds them. 49 states have sheriffs. The only exception is Alaska, which has no counties. The word sheriff is a portmanteau of shire reeve, which was the tax collector in medieval England. In some states, the sheriff is also the tax collector. In most states, the sheriff is a constitutional officer, meaning that counties must have a sheriff. The office may be largely ceremonial, with some duties to serve papers, provide security for the courts, and in other states, the sheriff does things and also runs the county jail. In most states, the sheriff does all of these and also provides general law enforcement services to unincorporated areas of the county and some cities that do not have their own police. And they contract to the sheriff to provide police services in their county. A few counties have both a sheriff's department, also called a sheriff's office. The names are more or less interchangeable, and a county police department. This usually comes about when the county government doesn't want to have a chief law enforcement officer. They can't fire at will. The county police department has a chief of police who reports to the county commission and serves at their pleasure. Where this happens, the county sheriff is relegated to running the jail and serving legal process. Line employees of a sheriff's department are called deputies or deputy sheriffs. They generally have the same law enforcement powers as a police officer. Rangers, here we go, a little bit of fun. Rangers, at least as general service law enforcement at the state level, are limited to Texas. The Texas Rangers have a history going back centuries and are the top of the police pecking order in Texas. Many states will have park or forest rangers who work for their proprietary government subdivisions, the Division of State Parks, Department of Forestry, and etc., and may or may not have police powers. Most of them usually do. Where they do not have police powers, they generally function as naturalists or conservation officers. Most state-level law enforcement officers are members of state highway patrols or state police agencies and have the title of trooper. California is an exception. California Highway Patrol officers have the title state traffic officer. A marshal is an enforcement officer of the court. Marshals may provide security for the court and court staff and may also serve subpoenas and arrest warrants. At the federal level, the U.S. Marshals Service provides security for the courts, transport witnesses and prisoners to and from court, may transport inmates between federal corrections facilities, and runs the witness protection program. And they also are now air marshals since 9/11 that are undercover on every single flight. A city marshal might serve subpoenas, provide court security, and take custody of people arrested on warrants. In Reno and Las Vegas, for example, when a city police officer, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department is an amalgam of the former Las Vegas Police and Clark County Sheriff's Office, which was formed in 1973 and headed by an elected sheriff. When they locate someone with an arrest warrant issued by the municipal court, they can call a deputy marshal to the scene. The deputy marshals wear police-type uniforms, drive marked patrol cars, and they take custody of the arrestee and book them at the county. The police officer then resumes patrol. So that is a short story about police officers, sheriffs, marshals. So for those of you that are saying that the only reason there are police officers was for collecting slaves back prior to the Civil War, I'm sorry. There's plenty of evidence out there that says that is not accurate. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed the little history lesson. Hope you enjoyed Tim D's article. As I said, I will do my best to post the links inside of all the video places in the comments so that you can click on them and read them for yourself. Take care. Have a blessed evening. God bless you all, and be kind, be loving, and be thankful.
Coaching with Les has doubled my practice.
If you have any struggles in your business or your personal life, Les is your guy.
He's logical, he's empathetic, he has passion for helping people, and his ideas are genuinely thoughtful.
So if you're looking for a business coach with integrity, choose Les Hill.